The thunder cracked like a whip across the endless prairie, shattering the fragile peace of the night. Eliza Hawthorne clutched the reins of her weary horse, her fingers numb from the relentless grip of fear. She was no stranger to the Wild West's unforgiving embrace. Born in a dusty mining town in Colorado, she'd learned early that survival meant outrunning the shadows. But tonight, as lightning illuminated the jagged silhouette of the Rocky Mountains, she felt the weight of isolation pressing down like the storm clouds above. Her husband, Jacob, had vanished 3 weeks ago during a cattle drive gone wrong, ambushed by outlaws in the canyons. Whispers in the saloon spoke of his body left for the vultures, but Eliza refused to believe it. She rode alone now, a widow in name if not in heart, chasing rumors of a man matching his description holed up in a forgotten frontier town called Redemption Ridge. The rain began as a whisper, then roared into a torrent, turning the dirt trail into a muddy river. Eliza's bonnet clung to her soaked curls, and her dress, once a vibrant blue, now hung heavy with water. She urged her horse onward, but the animal faltered, its hooves slipping in the muck. In the distance, a faint glow pierced the darkness, a lantern swinging from the porch of a lone cabin. Desperation clawed at her throat. "Please," she muttered to the heavens, "don't let this be another dead end." As she approached, the door creaked open, and a tall figure emerged, rifle in hand. His eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scanned the night before softening at the sight of her trembling form. "Stranger," he called out, his voice steady amid the chaos, "you look like you've ridden through hell itself. Come in before the storm claims you." Eliza dismounted, her legs buckling as she staggered toward him. The man, broad-shouldered and weathered by years under the sun, caught her arm gently. Up close, she saw the scars etched across his jaw, badges of battles fought and won. "Name's Caleb Thorne," he said, leading her inside. The cabin was sparse, a wood stove crackling with fresh logs, a table scarred from knife marks, and a bedroll in the corner. He draped a blanket over her shoulders, his touch surprisingly tender for a man who looked like he'd stared down death more times than he could count. "What brings a lady like you out in this godforsaken weather?" Eliza hesitated, her eyes darting to the shadows. "I'm looking for my husband," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Jacob Hawthorne. They say he's gone, but I know better." Caleb's expression shifted, a flicker of recognition in his gaze that made her heart race. Could this stranger hold the key to her shattered world? As the storm raged outside, they shared a meager meal of beans and cornbread. Caleb spoke little of himself, but his stories of the frontier revealed a man shaped by loss. He'd been a sheriff once, in a town wiped out by greed and gunfire. Now, he lived on the edge, helping drifters when he could, but trusting few. Eliza found herself opening up, her words tumbling out like the rain. She told him of Jacob's kindness, how he'd once given their last dollar to a starving family during a harsh winter, or how he'd nursed an injured coyote back to health, believing every creature deserved a chance. He saw the good in people, even when they didn't see it in themselves, she said, tears mingling with the dampness on her cheeks. Caleb listened, his quiet strength a balm to her weary soul. But as the night deepened, an unease settled in. Why did his eyes avoid hers when she described Jacob's laugh, his stubborn streak? The hook of mystery pulled her in deeper, unaware that the man before her harbored secrets that could either mend or break her forever. Dawn broke with a hesitant sun, painting the prairie in hues of gold and crimson. Eliza awoke to the scent of fresh coffee, Caleb already outside tending to her horse. "He's got a stone in his shoe," he explained, hammering a new horseshoe with practiced ease. "Won't get far without fixing it." Gratitude swelled in her chest, acts of kindness were rare in these parts, where survival often trumped compassion. As they rode together toward Redemption Ridge, Caleb insisting she shouldn't go alone, Eliza felt a spark of hope ignite. The trail wound through sagebrush and canyons, the air alive with the calls of distant eagles. Conversation flowed easier now, bridging the gap between strangers. Caleb shared fragments of his life. Orphaned young, he'd fallen in with a gang of outlaws, seduced by promises of easy fortune. "I thought power was in the gun," he admitted, his voice low. But one night, we raided a homestead. A family begged for mercy, a mother shielding her child. I couldn't pull the trigger. Walked away that night, left everything behind. Eliza nodded, seeing echoes of Jacob in his tale. Selflessness changes us, she said. Jacob taught me that. He once risked his life to save a rival rancher from a flash flood, even though the man had cheated him out of land. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world narrowed to just them, the wind whispering secrets through the grass. But as they crested a hill overlooking Redemption Ridge, an unexpected turn shattered the calm. Gunshots echoed from the town below, smoke rising from the saloon. Outlaws, Caleb muttered, drawing his revolver. Stay here. He charged down, Eliza following despite his warning. Chaos reigned. A band of raiders, led by a snarling brute named Black Jack Harlan, terrorized the streets, demanding tribute from the frightened townsfolk. Caleb dove into the fray, his shots precise, felling 2 attackers before Harlan pinned him down. Eliza's heart pounded, she grabbed a fallen rifle, her hands shaking. In that profound moment of realization, she understood, the power of humanity wasn't in isolation, but in standing together. She fired a warning shot, scattering the outlaws and giving Caleb the edge to disarm Harlan. Panting, they tied up the survivors as the townspeople emerged, eyes wide with awe. You saved us, an elderly woman said, clasping Eliza's hand. Caleb looked at her with newfound respect. Didn't know you had that in you. But as they searched the outlaws' saddlebags, Eliza found a locket, Jacob's locket, engraved with their initials. Her world tilted. Where did you get this? She demanded of Harlan. The outlaw sneered. From a fool we ambushed weeks back. Left him for dead in the canyons. Eliza's knees buckled, but Caleb caught her, his arms a steady anchor. Yet, in his eyes, she saw guilt flicker. Caleb, she breathed, what aren't you telling me? The revelation hung in the air, an unexpected twist that threatened to unravel everything. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over Redemption Ridge as the town began to heal. Eliza and Caleb sat by a campfire on the outskirts, the weight of the locket heavy in her palm. Tell me the truth, she urged, her voice steady despite the storm within. Caleb sighed, staring into the flames. I was there that night, Eliza. Not as an outlaw, but as a scout. I heard the ambush, gunfire, shouts. By the time I reached them, it was over. Jacob was wounded, barely alive. I dragged him to safety, nursed him in a hidden cave. He begged me to find you, to tell you he loved you. Tears streamed down her face. Why didn't you? Where is he now? Caleb's voice cracked. He didn't make it. Infection set in. I buried him under a cottonwood tree, marked it with his hat. I took the locket to prove his story, to find you someday. But fear held me back, fear I'd failed him. The profound realization hit Eliza like a thunderbolt. Kindness wasn't always in grand gestures, but in the quiet acts that echoed through time. Caleb had selflessly saved Jacob, even if only for a few days, and now he carried that burden alone. You didn't fail, she whispered. You gave him peace. And you saved me today. As night fell, tension built between them, not of anger, but of unspoken connection. The outlaws' defeat had united the town, but whispers spread, Black Jack's gang vowed revenge, gathering forces nearby. Eliza felt the pull of home, yet something anchored her to Caleb. Don't leave me alone tonight, she breathed, her hand finding his in the firelight. He squeezed it gently. You are mine, always, he said with quiet strength, echoing words Jacob had once spoken to her. In that moment, an unexpected turn unfolded, not of loss, but of rebirth. Caleb revealed he'd been wandering since Jacob's death, searching for purpose. Helping her, fighting alongside her, had reignited his belief in humanity's power. The climax crested as scouts reported the gang's approach. The townsfolk, inspired by Eliza and Caleb's bravery, rallied. Farmers, shopkeepers, even children contributed, sharing food, forging weapons from plows. Eliza stood at the forefront, her voice ringing out, "We've all lost something to this land's cruelty. But together, with kindness as our shield, we can reclaim our hope." Caleb, moved by her selflessness, confessed his love, not as a replacement for Jacob, but as a new chapter. "You've shown me that one act of compassion can transform a life," he said. In the ensuing skirmish, the town's unity overwhelmed the outlaws, not through violence alone, but through clever traps and mercy offered to those who surrendered. Harlan, defeated, was spared execution at Eliza's insistence. "Let him live to see what humanity can build," she declared. The act of generosity rippled outward, turning enemies into reluctant allies, transforming the town's fear into unbreakable bonds. With the threat vanquished, Redemption Ridge awoke to a new era. Eliza and Caleb stood atop the hill where they'd first glimpsed the town, the prairie stretching endlessly before them. "Jacob would be proud," Caleb said, slipping the locket back into her hand. She smiled through tears. "He is. And so am I, of you, of us all." They decided to stay, rebuilding the community with acts of kindness, establishing a school for orphans, sharing harvests with neighboring tribes, and offering refuge to wanderers. Eliza's journey from despair to strength inspired tales around campfires, reminding folks that selflessness could conquer even the Wild West's harshest trials. Years later, as Eliza watched children play under the cottonwood tree marking Jacob's grave, she reflected on the power of humanity. One unexpected act, Caleb's quiet rescue, had sparked a chain of compassion that healed wounds and forged futures. "We are never truly alone," she whispered to the wind. The story of Eliza and Caleb spread across the frontier, a beacon for the weary. In kindness lies our greatest strength, turning strangers into family, loss into legacy. And so, in the heart of the American West, where the land tested souls, hope bloomed eternal. Readers across the USA and beyond found solace in their tale, a reminder that even in darkness, one selfless heart could light the way for many. The end left an uplifting message: embrace humanity's power, for in giving, we truly receive.